Buongiorno and welcome to Italian Black Death Metal Times. This one is Pyra with a very fresh from the oven kind of release. This is supposed to be out on 30th of September 2022, so I'm a little bit early to the party, but I hope this will give you reason enough to check out this album, even if I'm not gonna do too many praising words. This review is kind of divided into two parts, the positive and the negative, much like this album is, and the band in general is divided into black metal and death metal. This is the kind of a combination that takes both old school death metal and modern day black metal and puts them together. And why I'm not linking Metal Archive's site here is not for any other reason but the fact that this album or band is not there yet before the release date when I'm filming this, like 2 days ahead. So let's focus on this MCD with 5 tracks and 25 minutes 50 seconds of music. Now, if I would to tell you that this one is of death metal but without proper growly vocals and badass brutal riffing. This is also a black death metal one without the kind of demonic shrieks and raspy vocals and those evil riffs. Now it might sound a little bit weird, but that's in essence what Pyra is doing. Now I kind of hoped that this would be the best of both worlds kind of a thing. Taking those really brutal riffs and brutal sound from death metal, including really brutal growling parts and kind of a heaviness that death metal embraces so often, and then marrying it to the darker, more sinister aspects of black metal, including some demonic shrieks and screaming and something that would totally marry this to the nocturnal visions, whatever. Now, this is like, okay, let's abandon the thought of best of both worlds. Let's pick the worst of both worlds and let's see how it folds out. On the other hand, yes, it really goes nicely, and by nicely I mean it's dark, it's heavy, and it's oppressive, it's sinister in a way, but it isn't black as black metal. It isn't brutal or heavy as death metal. Now those growly vocals, they do their job okay. Not beyond that, because me coming from a strong death metal background, I can pretty much say which kind of vocals are either brutal or unique, obituary for instance, or just something that, makes your head explode because of sheer enthusiasm. These are the kind of a monotone type, which are not too powerful, but they are more considered growling than anything else. For death metal perspective, this sounds kind of a lame way to do it, but they are not that bad. It's just a little bit boring, to be honest. And black metal raspiness could have worked, in my opinion, way better. This is almost like a female growler trying to growl as bad as some of the guys, and you know how it usually goes. Take a look at bands like Arch Enemy and the like, and you will pretty much understand what I'm talking about. Now then, taking the black metallic sides, but not exactly the black metal riffs, and you're like, okay, this sounds kind of a weird, and indeed that's what Pyra does. This is not about catchiness, this is not about the kind of a super dark riffing, this is not even about atmospheric black metal becoming, atmospheric or melodic. This is more like dissonant black metal, kind of a third wave, if you will, that combined into the world of death metal, but in such ways that it's not really common. Now, if you're thinking bands like Blasphemy or Archgoat, when you're thinking black death metal, this is quite different. This doesn't have the chaotic presence or powerful entity that is usually what those kind of a black death metal bands are all about. Taking the themes from black metal but making sound them like death metal. This is indeed doing things quite differently. And for some reason it actually works for the favor of the band, because the atmosphere is really good. It's oppressing and dark, but the songs, it's almost like this album kind of EP kind of tries to avoid interesting riffs. Talk about late Behemoth, the last album, and you're like, yeah, I get where the band is going, but this is not exactly very riff driven or very catchy or memorable. Atmospheric wise, good. The rest, not so much. Now, if you're a big fan of black death metal, hybrids, then you're probably going to like Pyra to some degree. But if you like death metal in a very, very brutal and heavy ways, this is not gonna cut it. And if you like black metal, the first or second wave style, especially the 80s or 90s style, this is probably not gonna cut it for you either. So a marginal audience, I guess, would be what Pyra is aiming for or getting for in terms of audience. Now, like I said, I don't want to be too negative about it because this is way better than bare mediocrity, but it's lacking power, it's lacking those punches, and it's kind of picking the wrong pieces of death and black metal and then putting them together. Obviously, you will find for yourself. There are already some songs available on the links provided for the band, so you can start listening or wait for the 30th of September and listen to the whole album once it's out on your streaming services or a physical copy. The price at least is very modest. I found it about 70 euros for EP at the label's online shop. So in case you like it, go and buy it and show your support, and in case you don't, well, at least now you know. Thanks for watching the review. Looking forward to your comments and opinions. Cheers.